Well, happy Monday, everybody, and welcome to Day 7 of the Harry Reid government shutdown. On the left, President O and liberals unwilling to negotiate to solve the political stalemate. And on the right, a small group of gutsy Tea Party-backed reps who are doing exactly what their base elected them to do, fight Obamacare and a redistribution president at all costs. But Obamacare launched Tuesday anyway amid massive glitches. Here's America's CEO on the number of Obamacare enrollees in week 1.
How many people have actually signed up for insurance this week?
Well, I don't have the numbers yet.
You don't have the numbers, really, sir? Can you imagine Apple not knowing how many iPhone 5s were sold? By the way, the number was 9 million in the first 3 days. And almost 3 million of you watched the 5's last show. So I wonder why President O doesn't know. Should we rename it Obama Doesn't Care? And how did Obama do on rolling out week 1? Saturday Night Live, the 5 wants to know, President O, a winner or a loser, and why?
Loser, the Obamacare website, which had technical issues all week because of too much web traffic. You can't campaign on the fact that millions don't have health care and then be surprised that millions don't have health care. How could you not be ready? That's like 1-800-Flowers getting caught off guard by Valentine's Day.
Well, there it is, Bob, the signature legislation. His name's on it. The weekend, he has no idea how many signed up.
You know, that was a really impartial open on your part, I must say.
Did you write that, Bob?
Yeah, those few brave Tea Party people standing up there with the flag. Gutsy. Yeah, that's right. And Obama doesn't care. I get it.
So what about it? Why doesn't President Obama know how many
why does he not know? I'm not sure anybody knows. The point is, come January 1, millions of people will have Obamacare. And the other thing you don't understand is millions already are benefiting from it. Those who get their parents' insurance until they're 26, and those like me who have pre-existing conditions. So you can go on with all you want. You can talk about all the glitches and the rest of it. The fact is Obamacare is here, and it's here to stay. It's got to be changed, but it's here to stay.
Do you think by any chance, and you call me a skeptic, call me crazy, but maybe he didn't know the number because it was so darn low, he was embarrassed to say what the number was?
Yeah, well, I think that's part of the problem. It seems like a reasonable explanation to me. My favorite was the Obama doesn't care, because how is it that you can say you're going to provide health care for everyone? It doesn't work at all. It's more than just a glitch. Nobody can get on. How many days later? So to me, it's like this isn't even a train wreck. It's a 787 Dreamliner with screaming passengers running right into a mountain.
President Obama is the CEO of the country. Any CEO with such a massive rollout of their product would know how things are going day 1, hour 1, day 1, week 1. Right?
Yeah, and they would break it out into what time were people ordering. Was it early in the quarter of the hour? Just like we look at ratings. If he wanted to know, he would have known. If the number would have blown all of us away, we would all know it. I think that the glitches piece of it, it's a significant story, but that's actually one that could be fixed. The disaster is in the complete missed opportunity, especially when it comes to 2 basic things, the tort reform piece and the ability to sell across state lines. If they had allowed those 2 things, then you wouldn't have to have 50 different exchanges. You would have one big thing called the free market, and it would work.
Brian, they had 4 years to get this website up and running. They knew they were going to get people trying to sign up. They blew it.
Here's the deal. If I'm President Obama and I believe in the product, which he clearly does, Bobby, you'd agree, I'd be angry. I'd go, I am so disappointed in 46 of the 50 states for not being able to get this up. I have a software guy that's in charge that was supposed to get this done. He absolutely did not get it done. The fact that no one's reporting to him with the numbers that he wants, we watch this every day. I study at the Cavuto School of Business. I understand that CEOs sometimes delegate responsibilities and it doesn't work out, so people get fired and they demand accountability. Why does the president try to soft pedal it? Why doesn't he come out and say, I can't believe how disappointed I am by this?
Nothing's his fault. That's the problem.
Right. And maybe the scary part is if they blow. But if they,
you would never say that. I'm so disappointed. But you cannot be my press secretary then, because you can't giggle in front of the press.
But think about this for a second. If they blow something as basic as getting a website open for business, how are they going to manage 1/6 of a $15 trillion economy?
First of all, it's millions of people trying to get into granted, a not very well put together website. But hey, listen, can I make one point? We made this point over and over again here about all these businesses with 50 employees are going to lose. Do you know that 93% of the businesses in America have less than 50 employees? 93%.
That's the point, but you want those companies to have more employees. You want them to grow to beyond 50 employees.
And to stay open.
The point is that those people
Bob,
are not getting hurt at all.
That's not even the topic.
It's not off topic.
Time out.
It's the
It
good
certainly
news.
is off topic. We're talking about President Obama
Of course you're
fudging
talking
the
about
numbers
Fred.
around Obamacare.
And
I got a better one.
Obama doesn't
Ready
care.
for this? I got a better one. President
Impeach him.
Obama must think we're just plain stupid or something. Can you imagine going into a negotiation by first giving away the ranch and hoping the other side plays fair? Take a listen to this today.
We can't threat an economic catastrophe in the midst of budget negotiations. So authorize the Treasury to pay America's bills. Pass a budget and the government shutdown, pay our bills, and prevent an economic shutdown. And as soon as that happens, I am eager and ready to sit down and negotiate with Republicans on a whole range of issues.
So Brian, let me throw this out here. So there are two things on the table. It's the budget, and then there's the debt ceiling. So President Obama suggests today on the podium that Republicans give in on the budget and give in on the debt ceiling, and then maybe he'll sit down. All he promises to sit down.
Eric, here's the deal. Clearly, he got some bad polling, bad data over the weekend that said, hey, this whole intransigent, I will not negotiate, is not working for me. So I'm going to split the baby. I'm going to say I'm not going to move, and then I'm going to end it with I'd like to negotiate, hoping people who are so busy in their lives will go, well, isn't that nice of the president to give in after a while? But we do know there is some movement today. We do know the president might be open to extending this at least an extra 6 days, a temporary refunding of the government.
Different polling data on Long Island and the rest of America?
Yes.
The fact you probably do, I can understand being as backward as you are. But the fact of the matter is that the Republicans are getting more and more blame. But here's the most important thing that Eric, of course, would never put in his open. The Democrats have asked Boehner to please put a clean CR on the floor and let's have a vote, and he will lose. But he won't do it.
Of course he won't.
He won't do it.
He won't
Why?
do it.
Because
Why would he?
it's a CR the majority of the House of Representatives board.
Here's what you're doing. You're talking to a bunch of you're talking to our viewers who maybe don't understand the inside baseball workings of D.C. Dana, John Boehner. Do you think John Boehner will actually bring that vote to the floor of the House?
No, he's gonna, because he has to have something. Yeah, they have to, and President Obama, they have to know this, Bob, that they have to give him something. So the rudimentary principles of negotiation would say, okay, what could we give him? If I were Boehner, I think I would ask for two things, 2 votes, so that everybody's on record. A clean CR with an amendment that says government has to abide by the same rules as the rest of America, and the second one asking for a 1-year delay in the individual mandate.
Okay, I think your first
on those 2 things, I think that, but even if he loses, then you have all of those Democrats on record, and then you're off to the races.
Well, the reason, listen, last week it was the wackos who were keeping this thing from being passed. Now the wackos do not have enough wackos to stop it, and you don't let the thing go through. It's the will of the Congress.
Can you imagine John Boehner bringing that vote and letting 200
democracy
Democrats
work?
And hoping 17 Republican
having democracy work?
Don't worry about it. It ain't going to happen.
That's right, because you guys cheat still, and you're afraid to do it.
But here's what
you're cowards.
Here's what President would like. He would like, I guess Bob thinks it's the right thing to do. He wants the Republicans to say, just give us everything. Right. Go to the vote and give us everything without negotiating. Who's going to go back to their constituents and say, look what we got? Nothing.
Nobody's going to do that. What was the whole point of this exercise to begin with? Because that's what it would have been. It was just a little bit of stretching with no substance to it. If you were to go by Bob's recommendation, it is not realistic or feasible. It's not going to happen.
It's a majority of it's democracy. It's a majority of the House, a majority of the Senate, and the president signing. That's how it works. I need to get you an online class in civics.
Bob, I don't need an online class in civics. I will tell you, John Boehner isn't going to bring that, even if there are 17 Republicans.
He's a fool to not do it.
He's a fool to bring it if he did, because they would march him right out of
the Tea Party people would be upset.
Phoenix College
Take a look at the ad wars
Bob
going on behind the scenes. Watch this, one of each.
Boehner doesn't have the guts to put a clean bill on the floor to fund the government. Why? He's afraid of the Tea Party. Call John Boehner and tell him, don't let Tea Party radicals sabotage our government.
I will not negotiate.
He will not negotiate.
In case there's any confusion, I will not negotiate.
The president has made it clear he is not going to negotiate.
Isn't this insane?
All right, so Bob, clearly on the left, they just want that clean CR to go to a vote. That's not the way to get it done.
Last week, the reason it wasn't going through was you couldn't get enough votes to pass it. Right. Now you can get enough votes to pass it, and the Republicans are absolutely going in the tank for the right-wing zealots like you who buy into this stuff. Democracy is democracy. If you got enough votes to pass it, you pass it. You got enough votes. Boehner, frankly, is being a coward by not bringing it out.
I cannot believe that.
If Greg Gutfeld's hamstring had torn on Monday instead of Friday, and I was, or Tuesday, and I had filled in for him, whatever the reason is he couldn't be here, I would say, Bob, you're right. I would say that there's a lot of people in the House that were against what Ted Cruz did and were offended by it, 20 to 25. I think the president's stance, which you saw in that commercial highlighted, has made people like Peter King rethink their stance and say, wait a second. I don't like the way he's refusing to negotiate. I don't like the stance or tone. I am not sure that John Boehner was wrong on Sunday when he said if I put it to the vote that it would not, that a clean CER would pass.
And by the way, who says it will?
Right,
Who
that's
says
what I'm trying to say.
Because there are 23 that said they would vote in favor of
Find out. Put it on the floor.
Do you think those 23 who said
Find out. Let's just put it on the floor.
They're going to raise their hand and say, yes, I vote for Obama.
Listen, how many votes are we taking? Let's say, put it on the floor. See if you have the guts to put it on the floor. You don't.
There's another big battle going on, and this one's allegedly going to come down on October 17th. Now, that's a floating date. Jack Lew, the Treasury Secretary, said on October 17th, we're going to run out of money. We're going to run out of debt. We're going to run out of the ability to raise our debt above that limit. It doesn't necessarily have to be that day. Take a listen to Jack Lew over the weekend. I would say fear-mongering, and then Rand Paul's response. Listen.
The consequences are immediate, and they're very bad. Congress needs to act.
Would it be catastrophic?
Chris, I am telling you that I know the direction. I know the direction is bad. There are a range of how bad. It is not responsible, it is irresponsible, and it is reckless to take that chance.
I think it's irresponsible of the president and his men to even talk about default. There's no reason for us to default. We bring in $250 billion in taxes every month. Our interest payment is $20 billion. Tell me why we would ever default.
Okay, Dana, here are the numbers. We went to the brain and we crunched the numbers for 10 months in 2013. We're going to take in $225 billion per month. Servicing our debt, which would be the only reason that would cause America to default is if we didn't do that, is only $24 billion. There's $200 billion more left over after that.
As I understand it, one of the things that Treasury what Treasury does is look at the day-to-day revenue projections, not the month-long. But you have to got to ask yourself: is this any way to run a business or a country that you're worried that the American economy hinges on $24 billion to be able to pay our debt? That I think is going to feed into this. The shutdown story and the debt limit story are going to come together, and when there is something that is worked out, they'll do it together. I have a question about the storyline that Jack Lew, when he was talking about the debt ceiling. What I don't understand from the Republican side as well is, so the shutdown was supposed to cause pain in order to get people to do something. Right. But the pain has not arrived. And so it will.
Can I push back on it a little bit? President Obama likes the pain. He's pushing for maximum shutdown pain.
There is pain every day.
When you talk about closing the ocean, down in Florida, they closed a portion of the ocean. When you talk about World War II memorial.
Throwing people out of their homes, and closing down the Amber Alert.
Alerts,
right. I agree that they're trying to do that. What I don't think anybody's quite thought through is that the American people are sort of like, what is all the fuss about? Because they haven't seen it yet. But the markets could react and could react very negatively, and that's when you see action on Congress.
But you know, we did see the pain. We did see the pain with sequester if you're in the military. Right. We didn't see it with the rest of the country. So you could say, I don't see the massive pain. The problem is the president oversold the pain.
But that's like population specific. So what we're saying is like the rest of America to really understand what's going on, that this is a bad situation. And right now they're holding firm.
If you don't think that pain for a small business is not being able to process your loans, or for students to not be able to process their loans, or for any number of programs that are not being serviced in America that help poor people, if you don't think that's pain, then I guess you have a different view of pain.
But there's not an overwhelming storyline that has been produced that is going to spur action.
I think
That's
it's
like an electric shock,
and
it's going to run into the debt ceiling.
But your math is, again, man, we got to get you into Phoenix University.
It's the real math, Bob. It's not the Obama
math. What do you do about the deficit?
Or the Beckel math.
What about the deficit? You said that there's 250. You say 250 a month, right? Is that what you're saying?
$250 billion.
$225 billion are the federal receipts between taxes, fees, and licensing. We take in $225 billion per month.
And how much do we spend?
Servicing that debt is $24 billion.
Okay, and then how much do we spend above that?
Well above that, but therein lies the problem. There is why you have.
You want to just cut all that
Here's
off?
What you do, Bob. Here's what it is. I'll in an example that you may or may not understand. You get your paycheck every week from
Eric,
Fox, right?
me.
The first thing you do is you pay your mortgage, right? The second thing you do is you pay your electricity bill.
Right.
The third thing you do is you pay your
water, garbage,
phone, water, etc.
car cable.
About the 10th or 11th, you start paying, in my case, a bar tab or my restaurant tabs. But if you don't have enough money to pay for that, you say, look, I'm going to get paid next week too. Just hang in there. And we'll be good.
Okay, because since we know where the deficit is, then what you ought to say is, let's not pay Social Security recipients. Let's not pay Medicare.
Why would we do that, Bob? Those are mandatory.
Okay, well then you got mandatory payments, so you got to do that. There's not enough money to be taken out of discretionary spending to get you to what you're talking about. There's just not.
Well, actually, there is.
Where? How?
The discretionary spending is about a third of all of our spending, right?
So two-thirds. That includes air traffic controllers, right?
Two-thirds comes from non-discretionary, right?
Excuse me. You want to pick out of those that one-third? You want to pick out which ones you want to cut?
Until they figure out their act in D.C.
Okay.
Or you could also fight for reform to the entitlement programs that would actually allow you to have more revenue.
Right.
That was the Paul Ryan plan.
It's a better
Patty
business.
Murray and Paul Ryan are evidently working on something behind the scenes
There's
right
going to be
now.
a deal. There's going to be a deal on the 17th.
But that's the point. Use this as a unique opportunity to make some cuts that are much needed so that we can work better as a more efficient government.
We're going to have to leave it there. That was one kick butt A block, you guys. Listen, the couple programming notes. Fox News kicks off our brand new primetime lineup tonight.
Look at that.
Greta at 7, O'Reilly at 8, Megyn Kelly at 9, and Hannity at 10, and the 5 will be part of Megyn's very first show. So we'll see you in the 9 o'clock hour. And tomorrow, we're headed down to D.C. to do the show from there. Dana will explain why we're going there a little later. But first,